So there's this really common misconception, which is that you have to have millions of followers to build a business. In Nas Daily, we are not focusing on materialistic things. We don't focus on the most fancy car, or we don't wear lots of different types of fashion.
I've been to Nas Summit, I've been to the Billion Summit as well. When are you doing something in India? Welcome to the Cutting Edge Show with Ansh Mehra. In today's episode, we have Mr. Alex Dwek, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Nas Company. He's building education and community products for creators with Nas.io and Nas Academy. Alex, welcome to the show.
Ansh, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm very, very happy to know the fact that this is your first Indian podcast.
Correct. This is the first time I've been in India and recorded a podcast. And obviously we met before. We've had great conversations. And so I'm very happy we're doing it with you.
Alex, there are so many things that I want to ask, but primarily a lot of Indian content creators are very curious about money making in general, right? And you have seen creators from all around the world. Very few of them end up making the so-called $1 million businesses. What differentiates them from other normal creators?
So I've been really lucky to meet a whole host of creators. When I look at the millionaires category, I really think about those who have, let's say, 10 million subscribers or 10 million followers and above. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what are the characteristics first that define them? I think it comes down to a few things, at least from the people that I've met. I think the first thing is that being a content creator is incredibly output driven. You need to have a mindset that is no matter what, no matter how stressful, no matter how difficult, no matter how much is going on my plate, I can consistently produce videos, output, right? That's number one. Number two is I need to be able to look at data. I need to be able to see what's working, what's not. And number three is I'm able to pivot very quickly. Some of the top creators I met, especially in the US, they say, you have a lane, you can't just stick in your lane. You have to adapt, right? And so when the audience changes their interest, you have to be able to constantly pivot. So these are the three common characteristics that I see in large content creators that are successful and make money.
But it's very easy to get demotivated and just lose track. So how do you maintain that consistency?
It is very difficult. I can say that as like someone who creates myself as well. I think that in the end, what creators need to understand is that it's impossible to pursue consistent perfection.
Correct.
That is the biggest barrier, I think, for creating continuously. There's always that fear that you'll produce something that is below your standard or how good you want it. But if you accept that, look, just like every day of my life, I get up one day and I have a great day. I get up a second day, it's not so great, but I can always get up again the next day and do better. If we treat creating in that way, then the fear of having a bad day becomes less. And that is, I think, one of the most important things to overcome if you want to create consistently. It's just like going to the gym, right? If there is an option to not go to the gym, it's easy not to go.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, I'm going to do it no matter what, that over time, that muscle gets built. And that's what happens with content creation.
That's interesting, but there are some creators, for example, I create content for a very niche community, like a very small group of people. And when I put my reels out there, I compare my numbers with someone who's entering millions. At that point, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should switch to a non-niche thing. What should niche creators do then?
So there's this really common misconception in the world of content creators, which is that you have to have millions of followers to build a business. It is just not true, right? There are some creators who go very wide. I think Nas Daily is a channel that goes very wide. It appeals to lots of different people. But in that audience means that not everyone will be interested in the same thing. So when you're building a business, that can also be challenging. What is it that a person in India likes, but also a person in Singapore or Dubai? When you're in a niche, it's actually easier in some ways to build a product for them. If you have an audience of designers, let's say they're product designers and they face certain challenges and you have the knowledge, you can build something specific for them. And actually, you can convert them in a far higher percentage than you might do otherwise. So I think some of the best like $100,000 businesses or $500,000 businesses may come from creators with 100,000 followers, 200,000 followers. And I think that if you go deep in your niche, making those first $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 is very possible. So for you, Ansh, or for anyone else is saying, hey, my audience isn't 10 million yet.
Yeah.
It may be soon. It's not something to be disheartened from. I think the focus should be focus on building a product for them and then expand beyond.
That's crazy. I know some people who want to create content, but they're shy. They feel that they have a lot to share, but they can't speak in front of the camera. What should such category of people do?
So I think one of the most powerful platforms right now is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an amazing platform because, number one, people's identity are tied to the platform, meaning I put my real name, I put my job, I put my position. So the people you have on the platform, you know exactly who they are and what they do.
Correct.
Very powerful. The second thing they have still is what Facebook used to have, which is if I like a piece of content, it gets shared to my network and then it gets shared to their network. So you have this like viral effect and you can see who in your network had liked it or commented. And so for someone who's not confident in front of the camera, I think text-based platforms are really powerful. LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe Threads now could be an option. So I don't think you need to have all these skills to be a presenter, to be a creator. But also, you can be the brains behind someone else. You can find a great presenter, but you can be the person who comes up with the hook, with the storyline. You can partner together. And I've seen many great partnerships in the creator economy of the person who has the ideas and the person who's in front of the camera.
That's very interesting. There is a lot of scope for someone who knows how to make content and probably can sell that service to a presenter. Makes sense. Now, when it comes to like monetizing your audience, some people say that you should do it maybe after 8 months, once you hit maybe 100K. At what point should you monetize your audiences? Because it is recommended to sort of give value first, then take something from them. How do you check that point?
That's a great question. So I think the most important part to start off with is, do I have a connection with my audience? Because if they don't connect with me, if I offer them a product, they're not going to buy it. So the first question, if you want to test that, is if I offer them something for free, do they take it? If I offer them a digital product, like a PDF, will they sign up for it? What if I do a webinar? Will they attend? So you can run a number of tests to see, are my audience responding to the content that I'm offering? Once you know who does, and if you have a large percentage that do, then you may be ready for the monetization part. Now, when to make your first dollar? Well, it depends what product you want to sell, because I see great creators who have a small audience, 10,000, 20,000 followers, but are still able to make a lot of money because they only need a few people to pay for a high ticket item. Let's say you're a travel creator with 20,000 followers and you offer them to do a trip. I'm doing a retreat to Bali.
Okay.
Right? It could be $1,000.
Yeah.
But if 10 people want to pay that, you make $10,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
You don't need 100,000 people to do that. Now, not every audience can afford that. But then the other option is to say, I have a cheaper product, which is really valuable, maybe like a PDF or a course. Maybe it's $20, maybe it's $10, but I can get 1,000 people to do it or 500. So in your niche, you need to decide, am I going deep with a few people? And therefore, I want to grow my lifetime value and my revenue per user. These are two things people should think about. Or do I want to go very wide and maybe get a small amount of revenue with a lot of people?
Makes sense. So let's just say somebody ends up deciding that I will sell a high ticket product. They have to put themselves on the internet in a way where people feel that this is an expensive brand, but a lot of people struggle with looking expensive, right? So they are selling you a high ticket product, but people are like, why would I buy something that expensive from you? How do you build a brand where it's easy for you to sell a high ticket product?
So your product needs to be consistent with who you are and your brand. I'll give you an example in our case. In Nas Daily, we are not focusing on materialistic things. We don't focus on the most fancy car, or we don't wear lots of different types of fashion. So if we came out with a clothing line, I think our audience would be confused.
Yes.
They would be like, well, you don't talk about this. Why would you do it? So when it comes down to how do you build an expensive brand, well, I think to start with, you have to be interested in those luxury things.
Correct.
You need to be someone who's really passionate about it. Maybe you wear those luxury things. Maybe you actually do work with luxury brands because you're able to communicate their story really effectively. It's not about how much money you have. It's about whether it aligns with who you are. And I think if you do that, then you can build a premium brand for an audience that's interested in premium things very naturally. And if you're able to do that naturally, then I think the product comes next. But I don't think that everyone needs to build a premium brand. In fact, for us, all of our products have been about reaching as many people as possible, saying that you don't need to be a millionaire to be able to engage with us and work with us. And actually, I think that the majority of creators should serve that audience because it's a much larger audience.
Makes sense. There is a huge group of people who make tutorial videos, right? They have incredibly valuable content, but they fail to package it well. Maybe they don't know how to make the thumbnail, the titles. How can someone learn content packaging?
So, first of all, we need to think about which platform we're on, okay?
Got it.
A lot of tutorials on YouTube. On YouTube, it's a search platform, which means that your audience is going to search for something if they don't know you already, and then it's going to list results. And the video they're going to click on is going to be the one with the best title and the one with the most eye-catching image, the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter how good your video is, as you know, Ansh, right? If that does not attract their attention, you're not going to get that click or that view. So if I'm on YouTube, then the thumbnail is so important to pop out, to attract the attention of the person who's scrolling. And the title or the SEO can help as well. But if I'm on Instagram, then I may be scrolling through my reels. I'm not going to see the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I may not even see the title. I'm going to see the first 2 seconds. And so if I want the views, I need to grab people's attention in the video.
Got it.
Not in the thumbnail and the title. So that is actually, for tutorials, depending on that platform, that should be the focus. And then we can measure, right, also the retention. Do people stick around? Do they not? That also helps fuel the algorithm. So I think with tutorial videos, rather than just saying, this is how it's always been done on YouTube, I think the message should be, how do I stand out in a crowded field?
Got it. Are there any resources, books, channels that creators can learn from?
So I think that when it comes to each of your niches, I don't think there's a one playbook fits all.
Yeah.
I think for your individual niche, one should look for a beacon. That person, they say, is leading the pack. Now, the trick is, do not copy them, right? You see on YouTube a lot of Mr. Beast copycats.
Yeah.
Right? They say the formula works, they do it. But ultimately, they have no identity. It's Mr. Beast's identity. It's not theirs. So the challenge is to actually analyze and study the person who's doing well and understand what are the common properties. What I love about Mr. Beast's content is that he takes you on a journey. It's not just about the money and the challenges. He keeps you constantly on your feet. He keeps it very fast-paced. The music changes. The emotions change.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if it's a 10-minute video or a 20-minute video, you are hooked.
Correct.
So I would take that from his content and say, okay, what transitions do I do? What music am I using? How do I keep the pace really fast? That may be a lesson from Mr. Beast. So I think that for tutorials, what is the thing I should do? Well, I should look at the beacons, who I'm really impressed with. But then in terms of if I want to do Instagram, let's say most tutorials on YouTube, maybe it is good to do Instagram, right? Because it's a shift. In that case, there are courses out there. For example, on Nas Academy, we do a short form course called the Creator Accelerator Program, but there are many others. That's when I'd say, okay, I don't need to learn tutorials. I need to learn Instagram. And then I can combine those two things together.
That's pretty cool. When it comes to Nas Company, Nas Academy, what all do you give to creators? What all are the services that you give?
So for Nas Company, we have two businesses. We actually started at the beginning as just an education company. We said in the future, there are going to be many, many more millions of people who are going to want to be creators or are going to need the skills of being a creator in their job. We see the world being sort of split into two. There is the person who wants to create because they are creative. And there are many wonderful people who do that today and, constantly innovating. But the other person is the entrepreneur who realizes that I need to create to reach my customers. Every entrepreneur needs to be a creator, in my view. And so therefore, the education is needed for both. And so we're like, okay, let us come up with a program from everything we've learned with Nas Daily to teach you how to create content. And our specialty is the 1 minute videos, right?
Yeah.
So we focus on short form. So that's business number one. And we work with individuals all over the world and companies as well who want to learn. But the second thing we do is we saw that a lot of content creators who create short form content find it really hard to build a business. And the reason is because, back in the day, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you had 10 to 15 minute videos to build a relationship. You had Facebook groups, right? Everyone was on Facebook back in the day.
Yeah.
And you could reach them and interact with your audience. But today, with an algorithm-driven platform, like Instagram Reels, like YouTube Shorts, it's really hard to build a relationship.
Yeah.
And so what creators need to do is find a space where they can go deep with their audience. Now, in the US, email is really popular. Start an email list, start a newsletter. But I know very well in Singapore where I live and in India, people don't open email.
Yeah.
It's really hard to reach people on email.
Yeah.
And so the best places to do that are WhatsApp. Some places it's Telegram, right? Depending on what you're doing, maybe Discord. But the truth is that these platforms don't have algorithms and you can reach people directly. So our second business, Nas.io, is a solution for community builders like creators to build an audience on top of WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And then to be able to sell products within that as well. So we think, so education is the future. Everyone needs to learn how to be a creator. But community building is also part of the creator economy. And we're just going to see it more and more.
So if I had to start my own WhatsApp community, what are the steps? Where should I go?
Yes, great question. Ansh, I think you should start a WhatsApp community. And the reason why is because I know that you do a great job selling different products, right? I think you've created a wonderful ebook and a few other things as well. The reality is when you sell an individual product, every day you need to think about, right, who in my audience is going to be interested in this? Then I have to come up with a lot of marketing, and then I have to blast my Instagram or my YouTube with all this content, and then I have to funnel them into where I'm buying them. And the problem with that is that for the rest of your audience, who maybe that product is not suitable for, they also have to see that. And you see that often after time, the performance of your channel can go down because you're doing a lot of promotional content. Now, if you, Ansh, started a WhatsApp community where you said, look, for those who are interested in AI, for example, and AI in design, let's go more specific, more niche.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you weekly tips.
Got it.
I'm just going to drop in some specific short anecdotes of things that I'm seeing, things that I'm learning, latest tools and others. Does not need to be long videos.
Yeah.
I'm building that relationship every week.
Got
So
it.
as soon as when I'm ready to sell my product, I already have a few thousand people. It may not be the 100,000+ that are on your Instagram, but I have a few thousand people who are ready. And then I can just communicate with them in the group. I don't even need to promote my Instagram. I can do that on top if I want. That is the power of a community. It's building that consistent relationship, day over day, week over week, which kind of nurtures and warms up your audience. And that's how you build a business. It's not just from a one-off random message.
So will they have like my mobile number as well?
You can do a few different things as a creator or a community builder. So you could have a different number. That's what some people do. You can also use announcement groups. So then you would actually conceal and hide all the audiences. WhatsApp's actually introducing channels, which has just gone live in Singapore, and that's actually hides everything.
Okay.
So they've realized that this is a problem, and I think more people want to do that. So I think there are options. Interestingly enough, a lot of creators that we work with who have WhatsApp communities are quite comfortable with their number being open because I think today with WhatsApp, you can choose who you reply to and who you don't.
Yeah.
So I think there's been a general tolerance of having that available. But I think ultimately it's about how comfortable I am and how much time I have to deliver the value and what kind of value do I want to give. I would say the easiest place to start for everyone listening is let me start an announcement group, which is almost like a newsletter. It's a one-way, one to many. I send to them, but they can't chat.
Got it.
That's one of the best ways to do that. So for Nas.io, what we say is, okay, you can use WhatsApp to do these things, but you may want more than someone's phone number. You may want to know who they are, what they're interested in, their email address, maybe a few other things. Nas.io helps you do that. I may want to know who's engaged, who's not engaged, who was engaged this week, who was not engaged this week.
Oh.
And we provide analytics for that. And the third thing, which I know you're very interested in, your audience is interested in, which is a generative AI. We have built a tool called Ruby within Nas.io, which summarizes chats in WhatsApp groups.
Oh.
So every day you get a summary of everything that was talked about. You know that feeling when you open a WhatsApp group you've not been looking at for a while, and there's like 500 chats and you're sort of what's happened?
Yeah.
So Ruby provides a solution for that.
Oh, that's crazy. So where will Ruby text me? Like on WhatsApp itself? Or?
So actually it comes up in your portal in Nas, but we send you an email as well.
Okay.
And then you have an ability to share that because maybe your audience, your members have missed all the chats. So you can share it with them as well. So the idea is actually you can repackage the content in WhatsApp in many different ways. Actually, it's a shame that a lot of great value in a group gets lost. If you join the group now and you weren't in the group before, you don't see it.
Yeah.
If you join it, but there's lots of messages, it's really hard to find.
Correct.
So we think this is probably the first piece of like a future where things that happen within your chat or within your community can be pinned, can be shared, can be curated for future content.
Very cool. I've been to like Nas Summit. I've been to the Billion Summit as well. When are you doing something in India?
So very exciting news. We are coming to India. We are going to be hosting Nas Summit in Bangalore at the beginning of November. And you're invited. We'd love to have you if you're around.
I will be there, folks. Please join us.
And yeah, we are very serious about India. So we just announced, in July that we are launching Nas.io for India. So for all the content creators who are thinking about building a business, the problem they have with all these American products is that they don't accept India payments.
Oh, huge issue.
Platforms like Patreon, for example, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard for an Indian creator to monetize their Indian audience.
For sure.
So that with Nas.io, we are global. We've always been global. We started never to be just a one country brand. So that was why it was really important to us. We've interacted a lot with our audience in India and creators, and we wanted to support the ecosystem. So that's why we said we're launching India. We're going to enable UPI and other payments so that people can build businesses. And we want to provide a ton of educational workshops as well, which will be happening. Hopefully we'll get you on board, Ansh, to teach something and to be able to share knowledge in the ecosystem, because actually we should all, support each other in this community of creators. And it's still a very new industry. I was thinking about it that, Shopify, when it launched, e-commerce had already been around for, I think, 10 years plus.
Yeah.
In the creator economy, we're only 5 years old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of education that we all need to do to grow the pie. But I think the pie can get very big.
Anything that you've noticed in the Indian creator sphere, which was very different from the abroad?
So I think there's a common misconception in India that, I hear this all the time. It's really hard to monetize in India.
Yeah.
But actually, when I talk to the creators in the ecosystem, they say something different. They say, actually, consumers are very savvy, very educated when it comes to products. Like, they're very good at sort of analyzing a product and deciding whether or not it's worth the money or worth the value or not.
Yeah.
But if you bring a strong product to the market in a sector or segment that you have a lot of authority in, then actually the response can be very good.
Yeah.
So I think that what I've learned is that we shouldn't take these generalizations about, a market can monetize, a market cannot monetize, and actually focus more on the product we offer.
Yeah.
Why should someone accept or pay for a product that's not great?
For sure.
That's on us, all of us, including Nas, right? We have to make sure that, the consumers hold us accountable and we set our standards high. But I think there's a massive market for creators to go full-time, to go part-time, to be entrepreneurs. And I think that people just have to go out and try. Yeah. And by the way, many creators try a product and it fails. And then they try another product and it works.
Yeah.
So I think a message out there would be, don't give up just because you try a product and people don't buy it. Yeah. Go to the market, get feedback.
Correct.
And try again.
No, I know a lot of Indian creators, they're making so much money. Like, the Indian market is huge. It is unbelievable. Like, I think it's just about learning.
Yes.
How to pull it off.
I think so. And I think when it comes to, for example, events.
Yeah.
I think events is a great way to monetize. I think in a post-pandemic world, people crave the offline interactions.
For sure.
And I think that's an area where I expect to see a lot more. Like, Nas Summit's an offline event.
Yeah.
But I expect to see a lot of creators running offline experiences, offline events. I've heard of a few creators in India who are experimenting with this thing. It's really exciting. Yeah. So if you're a creator thinking about, and you're great at events, I would say look at doing offline experiences as well.
For sure. I mean, I'm going to have my own offline meetup on 26th August.
Amazing.
In Gurgaon itself. So if you're free on 26th August, you join me.
Everyone, please go. It's going to be great.
But thank you so much for doing this, Alex. I know you have traveled from a very, very far distance. It's very, very humble, and I'm very grateful to you for taking out the time for this.
No, thank you for hosting me.
Yeah.
It's a real pleasure. I love the questions, but also, I think the content you're producing is fantastic.
I
think more and more people need to learn about AI. I think more and more people need to think about, their branding and their positioning, and not be afraid to talk about things like making money.
Yeah.
So these are really important topics.
For sure.
And, what I would say is that for those interested in building a community or wanting to monetize, check out Nas.io. I have to give a plug.
For sure.
Check out Nas.io. We are here in India. We're here to support creators. So reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you on your journey.
How can somebody connect with you or with your teammates?
Yes, so you can reach out to me directly, alex@nas.io. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can just email hello@nas.io and someone in the team will help you. But we have a team in India and we have a team all around the world. And we work with all different types of creators. So it doesn't matter what your niche is.
Okay.
We're here to support.
There's no level that you have to hit these many followers or something like that.
No, as I said before, I think that, we see creators of all different sizes build communities. But I think what's important is, you need to have that motivation and that hunger to do it, because it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the rewards are high when you commit.
Yeah.
So I think what we look for when we meet creators is we say, okay, what is your product? What's your idea? And how motivated are you to do this? If the two are yes, then I think there's, we're really excited to work with you.
Awesome. So folks, that was the end of episode 2 from the Cutting Edge Show. If you're here for the first time, make sure you click on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. I will put all the links and your social profiles in the description. Please make sure you check out Nas's products because they're absolutely incredible. A lot of my friends are using them and they're very happy about it. So I hope that you're taking care of your mind and body. This is your dost Ansh Mehra signing out. If you like this video, make sure you click on like and hit the subscribe button. I regularly upload videos on UX design, marketing and storytelling.